Are you a chiropractor with a struggling practice, having a hard time finding and keeping patients? Is your staff falling short of expectations? I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer, and DC Trainings has the answers that you need. So tune in now and find out how. Hello, and welcome to DC Trainings. I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer. It's great to be with you today. We're kicking off a new module. It's module 1 for 2024. So today's module kicks off with, the module is team development. And as we kick off this module, today we're going to be talking about attracting applicants. And I want to, before we get into that, I actually want to say thank you to all of you, those who joined us at our seminar last Saturday for the Module 1 seminar. And I get this question often, so I thought I would just go through that here. But the way that DC Trainings works is that we have 6 modules per year. So modules 1 through 6, each one having a specific topic that we cover at that initial seminar, if it's a live seminar, or through the duration of 8 sequential weeks, we call them, within the module. So there's a total of 48 weeks spread out through the year over 6 modules. So this module 1, started with Saturday's seminar, and now we're going to go into breaking that down into bite-sized pieces over 8 sequential weeks, where we'll dive a little deeper into each of the topics that make up the module. And I get that question often, so I thought I would just start with that today. We've got some new members and want to make sure that everybody understands how that works. But also, these modules are a great time to answer questions that you have, because I've been in practice for a long time, 27 years. I have been to plenty of seminars, and I know that when you go to a seminar, you get a bunch of information, and then you are left with taking that back to your practice and trying to implement what you learned, where you probably already have a busy schedule in your practice. So what ends up happening, in all my years of going to seminars, is I'm happy if I got like 2 or 3 things that I can use when I go back to the office, because my office is already so busy. If I can just plug in 1 or 2 things or 3 things, I'm happy. That means the seminar was worthwhile. I got some great information that I could use. But what we found is that through the course of these 8 weeks, it's much easier to implement many more than just 2 or 3 things from a given seminar or module. So once again, just want to say thank you to those of you who joined us at the seminar, and please send in your questions. I invite your questions. I want to make sure that you don't leave with any unanswered questions. So just let us know what those are. So let's dive into our first topic today, or our first topic of the module, which is attracting applicants. And just to let you know ahead of time, because at the end of this module, we'll then kick into the next part of the sequence, which is the new patient series. We won't have a live seminar for that. We'll just dive right into the weekly webinars as we go through that sequence. So, but as far as live seminars, our next live seminar will be in July for module 4, which is financial arrangements. So make plans to come to Santa Cruz and join us for a great day. It'll be in July, so it'll be a good time to go to the beach too. Okay, so let's dive in here though and talk about the important parts of attracting applicants. I'm going to actually back out of this real quickly, because I want to just set the stage, and that is that if you really want to hire A players to join your team, which I recommend highly, you don't want to hire B players, you certainly don't want to hire C players. But if you want to really get good A players on your team, it's important to have a huge list of potential applicants. So we want to, as the topic says, we want to attract many, many applicants so that we can really filter out exactly which of those are going to be the best fit for our office. Once we do that, how do we hold those individuals accountable for something that is viewed as productive in the office, right? Some measurable outcome or some measurable part of the practice, so that you know that everyone on the team contributes in a meaningful way. And we talked about this on Saturday, because imagine you have because I was the chiropractor for 8 years for the Golden State Warriors basketball team, and every person that joins that team has a whole series of statistics that backs them up. And the the team owners, when they are looking to bring a new player into a team, especially at the level that they are with the Golden State Warriors, uh, they look at their numbers. They say, okay, what is your track record? What were you able to produce? How is that measured? What was your scoring? What were your shots? How many assists did you have? Like all the different numbers they're looking at before they even know what the person looks like, they know those numbers. And in the case of attracting applicants, going through this module, I'm going to show you exactly how to formulate which numbers are important for your team to go to the winning level. And I'm going to teach you how to look at each potential applicant, and I'm using the basketball analogy here, but each potential applicant so that you know exactly what numbers they're going to be responsible for, what numbers they've produced in the past, and how they'll be able to come on board with your team and help your team rise to the next level or maintain the level that you're at. Those are all important factors when we consider who it is that we're going to hire and how we're going to develop our team. That's why this is the topic of the module. It's the team development module. So we want to develop a team that's going to be working hard together to win. And that's obviously very important. So let's jump back over to the screen and let's go through what it takes to attract a huge number of applicants so that you can select the best people to join your team. All right. So the first is to schedule interviews, right? We want to get people lined up to actually interview them. And for this, which I'll come back to the website in a minute, for this, we have the CA hiring outline, which gives you a real step-by-step. This is exactly which steps you'll follow as you're bringing in these potential applicants. But then as it says next on the screen, choose your new CA from an abundance of applicants. So here's the steps. And as this is populating on the screen, I'm just going to frame this for you because I know many of us have been in this position before. And there's some CAs on the call today too. So I know you've been in this position before. I see Celeste on the call. So, obviously when somebody gives notice, and Celeste, you probably have been in this position where you had a CA who said, well, it's been great, but I'm going to go. And you're thinking, wait a minute. No, I trained you. I've given you all this stuff to do so we can work together. There's lots of things that you're responsible for. If you're leaving, that means I have to take that on. And it can be stressful, right? So I'm giving you this timeline where 30 days out, you've been told you're about to need to hire somebody and bring them up to speed. Or worse yet, 30 days would be ideal. Maybe it's only 2 weeks prior, right? And that's why on this screen, I have a section here that says 30 days prior, or worst case scenario, maybe it's shorter than that. Maybe it's only 2 weeks. Maybe it's only 1 day. I don't know. But ideally, we want to have these essential steps in place where we have a 30-day window or a 2-week window. What are we doing in the countdown to make sure that at the end of this, we have an A player that's joined the team, right? So that's the process. And we want to cover each one of these. So we have a 30 days out, a 2 weeks out. We have our application meeting. We have the panel interview, which that's our initial interviews. Then we have our training interviews, which is the final interviews. And then lastly, we make our selection and decide who it is that's going to join the team. So that's the process that we go through to find the right person to join and get started. So let's back up for a moment, because here, as I framed this before, here you are, you've been given a notice and you now have to go out and find somebody, right? So what do we want to do? We're going to print out the hiring ad, which I'll show you in a moment, but we want to place those ads everywhere. We want to literally blanket our community with this ad. Let your entire town know, hey, everybody, this is a big deal. Dr. Glenn is hiring. Doesn't happen very often. And when it does, you better get excited because it's a big deal, right? You want to make this a big deal. You're hiring. It's almost like going back to Palmer. When I graduated Palmer, shortly thereafter, Google moved into town in the Bay Area. And of course, Google blew up and just grew so fast. So what was the buzz on the street? Google's hiring. And lots of people in the Silicon Valley wanted to join this new company called Google. It was had a great reputation. People were clamoring to get hired. That's what I want you to view as your chiropractic practice. Your practice is the Taj Mahal of your area, and you're about to fill a seat or offer a seat to the right person or the right candidate that's qualified to take that position. That's the prestige that we want to bring about when we're starting to promote this position. So we want to place ads everywhere. So where do we place our ads? Well, go think about where you bank. Do you go into the bank and do your deposits every week? Probably. So look at the bank. Who in the bank is somebody that you might like to hire? Maybe they made a good first impression. Think of the restaurants that you go to. Is there any particular restaurant? Maybe you and your spouse go to a restaurant that you really like, and there's a server there that has, you've kind of developed a rapport with, and you like the way they take care of you. You like their smile. You like the way that they interact with customers. Earmark those people all the time. You want to actually have a ready to go list of people that you've met over years or at least recently, where on a moment's notice, you can say, okay, I'm going to go to that list and I'm going to now find those people and let them know we have a position available. Okay. Now, let's say you go into the bank and there's somebody that you think could potentially be a good CA in the office, right? It's not a problem for you to go into the bank, and I'm leaving the screen up here because I'm going to circle this, place ads everywhere. You could go into the bank and you could walk right up to that teller and bring a flyer or bring your hiring ad and just hand it to them and say, hey, I just want you to know I've really respected you. We've been banking here for a long time, or I've been coming to this grocery store for a long time. I always notice how great you are with your customers, and I want to compliment you. And if you're interested in interviewing for a position, please let me know. And here's my information because I'd love to talk with you. Right now, I don't care if the manager is standing right there. That's a huge compliment to the employee, and it's going to let the manager know they've got a really valued employee right here. So it's okay to pass those out everywhere you go, right? So just make sure that you take that opportunity to do that. Just get those ads out there. What are some other examples? Well, put them on your front desk, right? How many patients do you take care of where you think, there's and CAs and doctors both. I know I have the patients that I like taking care of, and my CAs have the patients that they like taking care of, if you know what I mean. Like, they make a great first impression at the front desk. They always pay on time. They refer other patients. Like, those are the patients that you might think, hey, we're hiring. Let me check in with that patient, right? So place ads everywhere. Restaurants that you go to, banks that you go to, your front desk, in your car, people that you meet, right? Those are the places you want to be putting those. Now, we're going to get into a little more detail on that because there's other places too. And I want to show you the hiring ad in a minute, but we want to develop your applicant resource list. These are the places that you want to post your ad and make sure that people see this opportunity. Now, our objective here, just to frame this, because you're thinking, wow, this is a long list, but our objective here is to literally have hundreds of resumes to choose from. Hundreds. I'm not exaggerating. And you might think, that's crazy, Dr. Sawyer. I can't go through hundreds of resumes. Don't worry. I'm going to show you how to quickly filter those down in an efficient way to make it work. I don't want you to have to do hundreds of interviews. I want you to have hundreds of resumes. Okay. So that interviewing process will filter those out pretty quickly. But that's the objective when we start placing our ads everywhere. That's why I said place those everywhere. Use the hiring ad, use the applicant resource list, blanket your community, get those ads out there, and expect and plan for 100 or more resumes, maybe hundreds of resumes. It's okay. Don't feel like you're going to be overwhelmed. Now, I want to show you something, and there's a question that leads into this, and it's kind of a loaded question. And I know some of you were there on Saturday, so you're hearing this for the second time, but that's okay. It'll sink in, and you might gain a little more each time you hear it. But I want to just ask you this question. When you are looking to hire, are you looking to hire people who are employed? In other words, you're going to have to steal them away from another job or entice them away from another job. Or are you looking to hire people that are unemployed and available right now and ready to go? Okay, which one of those is the better hire, right? And of course, it's easier, excuse me, when you find somebody that's not employed because they can start right away and they're ready to go and they may seem really eager because they haven't worked for a while. I understand, but I want to show you something, and this sort of puts it into perspective about who the better choice would be when you're hiring. Okay. So here's a timeline of when you're hiring. Now, if you're obviously as a member of DC trainings, you know how to retain great employees for a long time. You probably don't have a lot of employee turnover. So this timeline, and I'll use my mouse, shows a little small gap right here where I, as the hiring DC, am looking for a CA. In other words, I have CAs that stay with me for a long time, more than a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is. And then using my mouse, there's a little gap here. Suddenly I'm looking for a new CA. Well, I know how to hire good CAs, and I can't take care of patients without my CAs. So that gap better be small. And ideally, when I hire another CA, I keep them for a long time because I use the tools in DC trainings, I maintain a good relationship, and that timeline continues for a long time. So these gaps should be short and small in terms of when you're hiring. The next one is comparing that to an A player. So here's an A player that comes along. This small arrow is the continuation of them being hired for a long time with some other job. Then how long do they stay unemployed when they quit that job? It's a short time, right? There's a little gap here. They're unemployed for a bit, and then they get hired again because they're an A player and they know how to find a good job. And then they stay with that job for a long time. And then for whatever reason, they're unemployed, but of course that's short-lived, and they get snatched up and they have another job that goes on for a long time after that. Now, here's a C player. A C player has many jobs, right? They're frequently unemployed. They don't stay for a long time. Their employers obviously don't value them a whole lot, so they don't stay with one employer for a long time. So they have lots of gaps in their employment. Okay. Now, and this is leading all up to how I'm going to show you how to screen through hundreds of resumes very quickly to determine who the right people are that you're going to finally actually interview in person. So when we look at this timeline, guess what? Here you are hiring. Here's the timeline of when unemployed people are available versus employed people are available for you to interview. And if you notice the timeline, it's much more likely that you're going to be looking for people who are actually currently employed, and that's who you want to hire. Okay. Now, it's not always the case, but by far the majority of the time, you're looking for people who are employed. And based on that, now I want to go back to what I was talking about before, because based on that, the places to be looking for people who are currently employed and who you want to interview is to look where people are working, right? You can put an ad out there in the newspaper, you can put an ad out on the job searches online, but the people that are most responsive to those ads that you're putting out there are the ones that are unemployed, right? So there are some exceptions to that. Like I said, this is a generalization, but by and large, for the most part, you're looking for people who are currently working, and that's who you should be attracted to immediately to start setting up these interviews. Now, as we continue on, right, here's the example of the applicant resource list. You want to keep your applicant resource list current and up to date. So there's newspapers. You can put a newspaper ad. I know most of that stuff is online now, but you can buy an ad and have that placed online. So there's newspapers there. There's also websites. Now in Santa Cruz, we have santacruzjobs.com, or there's Craigslist. I know that's more than just California, but look up your town, wherever your town is, whether it's Vacaville or San Diego or San Jose, jobs.com. Put your city here, jobs.com, type that in and see what comes up. You'll probably find that there is a website where people go to hire and post an ad that are looking for a job. And the nice thing about these types of arrangements or scenarios is that people who are currently working, and actually this is a great story, but currently working can also have their resume posted on these sites. So as a story to that, when we posted an ad last time we were hiring, and that ad went out onto these websites, well, my CA, who's worked with me for 15 years, saw that ad. It came to her in an email. Now, what does that tell me? That tells me that even though she's employed and she's happily employed, we've worked together for a decade and a half. Even despite that, she still has her resume out there in case something comes along that she might be interested in, right? So there's many employed people who will also have their resume out there in cyberspace, and their resume may match up with your ad. So that's why it's really interesting to how times have changed over the years, but you want to stay current with the cutting edge approach to hiring people. So websites are important. So yourcityjobs.com, Craigslist. The other big one is Indeed.com, spelled Indeed.com. And what I like about Indeed.com, there's one more too, actually, that's called ZipRecruiter. I don't have to spell that one out, but ZipRecruiter.com is also another good one. And these are great websites that you should write down, and you should have these in your applicant resource list and ready to go when the moment comes up. We'll come back to that in just a minute, but I just wanted to point those two out so you could write those down and have it ready. Okay, so now let's suppose that we blanketed our community, and there's hundreds of flyers out there all over the place. I don't know about hundreds, but at least 20 places where your flyer is either posted or in somebody's hand. And by the way, anytime you hand somebody that ad, always hand them two because they know somebody and they're going to be talking about it. And when that somebody says, "Ooh, I want to apply too," they need to have two, or else they'll say, "Well, I'm not going to give you mine because I'm interested." And then you're stuck because the person won't actually get the information. So always hand them two ads when you're hand delivering these flyers. Okay, so let's, as I said, let's suppose you've got all these flyers out there. You've got them posted on websites. You've got them in people's hands. You've been telling people at the bank. You've been telling people at the grocery store. You've been giving them out to your patients. They're on your counter. It's a big buzz. Everybody knows, hey, you're hiring. And the resumes start to just come in, right? Lots of them. Now, I'm a paper and pencil guy. I like to have paper in my hands. So I just start printing. And it's not uncommon for me to have a printed stack of, a couple hundred of these. It's not uncommon. And yes, I recycle the paper and all that, but that's beside the point. The point is I like to have it on paper, but beyond that, if you want to just go more digital, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to qualify the resumes right now so that immediately you can take this large list of resumes, this big stack of potentially hundreds, and you can start to filter them down very quickly to who's going to be the choices that you want to actually interview in person. Okay, so the first one is a short commute to practice. So when you're looking at the resumes, look at their address. Where do they live? Is the distance that they live and have to commute to your office day in and day out at busy times and not busy times, is that a short commute? Okay, now what's a short commute? Well, these days, at least in the Bay Area, short commutes are up to an hour. But in general, day in and day out, year after year, we want to have a 30-minute or less commute. Okay, so that's the first criteria. Look at those resumes, look at their address. Is their commute 30 minutes or less to your office, even during times of traffic? Okay, that's the first thing. So that's our first criteria. And if it's longer than that, put them in the no pile. It's okay. You're going to have plenty of opportunities to gather the people that you need to find your A players. So short commute to your practice, 30 minutes or less, even on a busy traffic day. Length of past employment is the next one. This is really important because, as I showed you with a C player, they bounce between jobs quite often. So the length of the past employment, you want to write this down, is no more than 3 jobs in 2 years. No more than 3 jobs in the last 2 years. Now, there is an exception to this. The one exception is somebody who's in college. If they've been in college and they're just getting out, then that may be someone that you want to hire, and I'll show you how to address that in a bit. It's not that it's a disqualifier, but it does get your attention that I better pay close attention to this person because they didn't qualify in the other areas, right? So that's the one exception. But otherwise, look at your stack, and if they've had more than 3 jobs in 2 years, put them in the no pile, okay? With the one exception that they were in college, okay? Okay, so that's the next one, because you don't want somebody bouncing in and out. If they've been bouncing between jobs, then just picture that. What's going to happen is they're going to get up one morning, they're going to be tired. They've been working hard, and it's a rainy day and there's a lot of traffic and they had a rough day at work, and they're like, you know what? I just don't want to deal with this. And they go off and find something else. So they kind of bounce around when challenging times come up. And maybe that's not the best example. But I just know I've had days where I didn't want to get up. It was pouring rain last week one day, and I thought, boy, it sure would be nice to just stay in bed right now and just relax. It's pouring rain, but nope, I have a good work ethic. I got myself up. I did my stretches. I got into the office. We ended up having a great day, even though it was pouring rain. So it's that tenacity that you're looking for in your potential applicants, and you can start to shape where that is going to help you find your A player, right? As I said, length of past employment, no more than 3 jobs in the last 2 years. Okay, that's the next one. Then from that stack is the next step, and that's a phone call. Now I know that these days it's very difficult to get people on the phone. So with that phone call, I want to hear this person's voice. Now, as I said, I've got a pretty big stack here. It maybe is down to 100 resumes. I'm still going to make those calls. I want to find out what their voice sound. There's two reasons for a first impression phone call. 2 reasons, and you can write these down. The first is I want to hear the tone in their voice. Do they have a caring voice? Do they have a voice that I could imagine my patient's in a lot of pain? Like yesterday, we had a guy that called. He was in so much pain, and we fit him in as a new patient, even though we were completely booked. But I know that my CA on the phone helped him to feel better, even though he was in so much pain. Like, oh my gosh, this place is going to help me. I can't wait to get in. I've been on my couch for 2 days, and she really sounds like she cares, and they're going to make it work for me. Wow, that's amazing, right? So that's what I'm thinking about when I'm hearing this person's voice for the first time. So that's the first one. For the first impression phone call, let's jump back over. Number 1 is the tone of their voice. Do they sound like a caring, empathetic person through the phone line, even though I don't know what they look like, right? The next one is the second part for the first impression of the phone call is I want to know what their communication style is. And we all have what's called a communication lag time, right? So, and I'll just frame this for you. So let's suppose that I ask you a totally random question and I'm a stranger. Let's say I ask you, what's your favorite ice cream? Now, a communication lag time where there's a longer lag time would cause someone to pause, and they might overthink it. They might be like, well, I don't even know what it is. What is my favorite ice cream? And actually, why are you asking me this question? This has nothing to do with us or this situation. Why are you asking me this random question? They might overthink it. That lag time is what you're watching for. Okay. Now, let's play this into a real life example. Let's suppose a patient walks up to the front desk one morning and says, hey, I just got a bill and I'm not going to pay this. That's crazy. What does your CA do? Do they immediately click into gear and say, okay, I know how to respond to this. I've trained, I've done my script training. The doctors walked me through how to handle this situation, and I know how to respond. Or is there going to be a long pause, which then builds the confidence of the patient, realizing, okay, here's somebody that maybe doesn't know what they're doing, or they don't have a lot of confidence. So I'm going to be extra assertive about the fact that I don't want to pay this bill. So that's just an example. But the key point is those are the 2 things that we're going to look for in this phone call that we're going to make to our patients, right? For first impression, there's 2 things. What's their communication lag time? How quick can they answer a random question, such as, what interested you about this position? That's a great one, right? That is just a simple question, and you'll see how fast they answer. If there's a lot of hemming and hawing and they never really come up with an answer, I don't know, you just came across Indeed and I don't even know who you are. Well, that may not be the best fit for you. You can decide. But that's what we're looking for. So 2 things. What's their communication lag time? And the second one is, what is the tone of their voice? Is it a caring voice? Now, I want to add one more piece to this because, as I started to say earlier, a lot of people don't answer their phones these days, right? So in calling these phone numbers, it might be that they don't answer. And if you leave a message, oftentimes it takes a while for people to get back to you from their voicemail. So a better way, if you get an answering machine, is to draft a short little text that says something like, this is Dr. Knitsch calling about your resume and our job position. Can I call you? Okay. Or this is Dr. Tetrault about the job offer. May I call you? Send that text. Just copy and paste it so that you can rapid fire that, into your phone, type it into a text, and then highlight it and click copy. If you're going to do this through your phone, that's just a really fast way to send a ton of text messages out. And you start firing those off, just copy and paste and send, copy and paste, send, and send those out to those numbers on the resumes, and then wait to get the response back. And as you get them back, make that call. Now, what we're not going to get into in these phone calls is a description of the position. This is very simply two things, and you want to keep it short. Otherwise, you'll get burnt out. And here's what I'm afraid of if you get burnt out. What I'm afraid of is you'll say, here's this big stack of resumes. I've already called 10 of them. 3 of those aren't so bad. I'll just go with those. Don't do that. I'll show you the filtering process. So just trust me. My aim to get you to the next interview step is to attract people to your application meeting. And that can be anywhere from 25 to 100 or more people at your application meeting. And I'll show you how to do that. But there's a reason why you need to have that application meeting. And there's certain criteria that you're watching for to determine who are the A players in that step of the interview process. Okay, so let's get back to our slide, and then I'll kind of wrap this up as far as this part of the process. So after the resume phone call, then we're going to make a decision, right? So this is our first filtering part of the process. And I'm sorry, I need to back up, because in that phone call, you can probably, my voice is a little waterlogged this morning. The waves have been really good. I was surfing, but so anyways, I apologize. But in that phone call, it's either a yes or a no, right? It's okay, they sound good, or no, their communication lag time was too long. They couldn't answer the questions, or their tone of voice didn't sound upbeat, and happy and nurturing in a way that would help our patients who are really suffering. So whatever that is, there's a yes and a no pile that comes from that. If it's in the yes pile, the way you finish that phone call is, wow, I'm so glad we talked. And I'm sorry, I don't ask, do you have any questions for me? Because that will definitely turn into a long phone call, and you'll get burnt out, and you'll end up choosing too soon. So you just ask your pointed questions and then say, it's so great that we had this call. I appreciate you for taking my call. I'm going to have my staff send you an email or a text message, whichever is better. And is this the right email, or is this the right phone number? I'm sorry, let me just back up. Would you prefer a text message or an email to confirm your interview? We're going to schedule an interview for you. I'm sorry, I'm kind of mixing that up. Okay, so the next step, if it's a thumbs up, is let's go ahead and schedule an interview. I would love to meet you in person. Okay, that's great, doctor. Thank you. And then what's the best way for us to get that to you? Is it through email, or is it through a text message? And you may not be set up to send it in a text message, in which case you would say, I need to get your email, and we're going to directly email you an invitation to schedule your interview. Okay, so that then you would write down their email, or make sure it's correct on the resume that you got, the digital resume that you got. So make sure you have that email correct, and then we're going to send them an email. Now, if it's a thumbs down, you would very simply say, hey, it's so great that we talked, and we'll be in touch if we need to schedule an interview, and you move on. And I'm actually going to show you a script on that in just a minute on the website. So let me jump back over to our PowerPoint. So this is the yes pile. So thank you for your interest. As a respected healthcare provider in the community, we are proud to offer quality services and hope you'll consider joining our team of professionals. We've reserved an interview appointment for you on the following date and time. We're located here at our address. Okay, so you would send that. If it's a no, then we want to thank you for applying for the position. Currently, the position has been filled. As a special thank you, we've enclosed a valuable coupon for you to use or share with a family member or a friend, right? In Module 6, I taught you coupon marketing. So this is a great time to just put in a coupon. You probably will get some new patients that come in from it, but just put that in there as a thank you for taking the call, and you move on. Even though they're not qualified to work with you, that doesn't mean they're not qualified to receive chiropractic care. So this is a special marketing that you can add to it, okay? Now, we're going to use this process to fill your application meeting with potential CAs, Plus, we're going to use this process to bring in more new patients. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do this just to bring in new patients. I mean, you could have a hiring process every month and literally fill your office with new patients just from that without ever hiring anybody. But that's not the most ethical approach. So we only do this when we're hiring, but as an added bonus, you'll probably see a lot of new patients that come in from it. Okay, so let's jump over to the website now. And I want to show you a couple of the forms that go with this. And again, this is a good time. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can raise your hand or you can type it in. But on the website, we have all of our materials here. I'll just scroll down. So this is all the materials. And we also have an attracting applicants demonstration. So in this process, I have a video where I go through and show you just how that process goes. I'm sorry, I misspoke. This is actually a great video, not on that topic, but it's a great video. This is April, who she was my primary CA for well over 10 years. And it's a video of her just talking about the qualities that we look for when we're hiring. It's nice to have your mind centered and focused around what qualities are we looking for, right? Do we need somebody who's more upbeat and kind of hyper and busy that is going to run the front desk? Or are we looking for somebody that's more empathetic and sort of nurturing one-on-one that's going to be helping our new patients and doing our financial arrangements and report of findings, right? So what are we looking for in general? And she talks about those qualities in the video. So check that out. But let's go back over here. So here is the hiring sequence in more detail. So this is, in a nutshell, the whole sequence, right? You can go from A to Z and follow this from start to finish. So if you're hiring, I would recommend printing this off the website and having it in your hands and walking through this exactly step by step. I can tell you this is a proven hiring sequence that works well over 90% of the time to land an A player in your office. So really great material there. Here is the hiring ad, which you're going to blanket the community and give out to your patients and the places that you frequent. What you'll notice in this ad is that it sells the sizzle on the steak, meaning that these are all things that when someone reads this, it's going to be attractive to the applicant. It doesn't get into specifics intentionally, right? So it's an excellent full-time career opportunity in a fast-paced doctor's office. Now, maybe you don't have a fast-paced doctor's office. That's fine. Mine's fast-paced. So I want to make sure they know that up front. The position includes marketing and PR, health insurance benefits, profitable bonuses, paid vacations, holidays. There's no experience necessary. So once again, those are the things that are attracting to the applicant. We want somebody to put their best foot forward and be eager to have the opportunity to schedule an interview. So this flyer does that. When someone reads this, if they're ambitious, they're going to look at that and say, wow, I want to go to this place, right? And there's more on there. It continues there. So that's the ad. Here's the applicant resource list, which that's a blank one. You can print the blank right off the website. Here is a sample. And as I told you before, there's a couple on here that weren't on that screen. So the Indeed.com is a big one. If you're interested in hiring a doctor or a doctor's assistant, right, a physician's assistant or someone with a little more educational background, maybe an X-ray tech, someone like that, then definitely contact Healthcare RC because it's the healthcare recruitment counselors. Dr. Brian Torchin runs this company. It's a great company for hiring more mid-level or professionals that have a degree in certain areas. So contact them. There's temp agencies here too. You can get your list of temp agencies. That's a huge one. To pay a little extra at the front end in the form of someone hired from a temp agency is well worth it when you get someone in the long run and they stay with you for many years. Educational facilities, right? If there's colleges near you and you want to find out if somebody's recently graduated, definitely a good thing to have on your resource list. You'll notice on mine, I have Central California School. That's an X-ray tech school. So they produce X-ray technicians. And if you have X-rays in your office and you want to have a CA certified to take X-rays, then have that on your applicant resource list. And then I also mentioned ziprecruiter.com. I also want to point out this one, the Community Action Board. This is something local in Santa Cruz, but there may be one in your town that's worth looking up. And what this is, the Community Action Board is a company who does placements for people who are looking to advance their education and get more certification under their belt. And what does that mean? What that means is that if you can have somebody placed through an agency like this, the agency will pay a certain percentage of their salary for up to 3 to 6 months. Now, I want to just repeat that because it's pretty cool. I've hired CAs with this. They sent someone in. We basically tested them for 3 months, had 50% of their salary paid for by this agency. And at the end of 3 months, we got to decide, do we want to hire and keep them or not? Now, in both cases, because I've done it twice, both cases we hired them, we kept them, which was great because they still came through this whole interviewing process that I'm teaching you right now. So by the time we actually brought them into the office, we knew they were a good fit. But it was kind of nice because this agency contributed 50% of their salary for the entire 3 months that we were training them. So something to look at and look into to see if that's offered in your area, and put that on your applicant resource list if it is. So that's the applicant resource list. The next one is the resume phone call script. And I want to blaze through this real quickly. I know we're getting close to the hour. If you have a question, raise your hand, let me know. But this is my phone call. Okay. Hello, may I please speak with Mary? Yeah, this is Mary. Hi, Mary. My name is Dr. Scott Sawyer. I received your resume regarding our available position at Sawyer Chiropractic Group. Thank you. I was hoping you'd call. Now, remember, it may mean that they don't answer. Then I would send the text message, may I call you? Then when I call, because they got the text message, they will answer. So it's a great way to get in touch with people and not play phone tag, or even not get a hold of somebody. Okay, so yes, I was hoping you'd call. I appreciate you for sending your resume. I have some questions. Is this a good time? Yeah, this is a good time. Thank you. First, how did you hear about our position? Now, what am I testing? Remember that term I gave you? It's that response time, right? That the time it takes them to respond to that question is something that I'm listening for. And because of their answer, I'm listening to the tone in their voice, right? So she says, or he says, no, this is Mary. So she says, I found your ad through santacruzjobs.com. Great. What interested you about our position? This is where I'm listening for the tone in the voice. I'm looking for a stable long-term position where I can apply my skills as a doctor's assistant. Now, footnote 1 says, if acceptable criteria are provided, proceed with scheduling an appointment for an interview, i.e. attend the application meeting. What are the 2 criteria that she's going to provide? That communication lag time and the tone of her voice. Okay. So my response to that was, that's a good answer. Now she's hearing me say that's a good answer, like she answered the question right. She did. That's great. But I'm also saying, well, that's a good answer because I'm thinking she answered quickly, she was intelligent, and the tone of her voice was appealing. Great. Let's schedule an interview appointment. I have an opening next Tuesday at 6:15. Are you available at that time? Yes, I'm available at that time. Where are you located? Well, my assistant will email details for your appointment to the email listed on your resume. It's important to be on time, and I look forward to meeting you. Thank you. Or if they didn't provide the criteria, it says number 2, if criteria are not met, dismiss the applicant and send them the applicant decline letter. So now this one here, I want to just point this out because what you'll notice in that script, what I did not say is let's pick from several times to schedule you. Now, I know this is a little bait and switch, but this is in pursuit of getting all A players, and you want people who are tenacious. If they're pretty shy and not very tenacious, in my office, they're not going to be a good fit long-term because we have too many patients to take care of for someone to be timid or shy, right? That just won't be a good fit in my office. Maybe it is in yours, and that's okay. But what came out of that conversation was, I have an interview appointment next Tuesday at 6:15. If she says, I'm not available at that time, what just happened? She went to the no pile. It wasn't like, oh, let's work out a better time. No, that's the only time I have. And if you're available at that time, great. And if you're not, I'm sorry, we'll be in touch if there's another position open down the road. And we're done, right? Remember, I told you I'm going to show you how to filter through hundreds of resumes to get to the cherry or the diamond in the rough, the cherry on top. And I'm going to show you how to do it quickly. And this is how you do it quickly. So it's yes or no, move on to the next step. Yes or no, move on to the next step. Yes or no, move on to hiring. Okay. So back to that script. right? So I don't want you to spend hours on the phone calling hundreds of people. I want you to spend like maybe an hour getting through these calls quickly and getting your yes pile narrowed down. So if it's a yes, I'm available at that time, great. Email, confirm the email and email the details, which I gave you in the other script. If it's a no, I'm not available, then thank you for your time. If an interview becomes available, we'll be in touch and we're done. We move on. Okay. All right. So I know what you're thinking. Maybe that's a little cold, but you're going to find the right person. And it may mean that you, if they had a great voice on the phone and you're like, gosh, this person really sounds good. Their resume looks good. They've had less than 3 jobs in 2 years. They live right around the corner. They're certified to take x-rays. They have experience in a doctor's office. They're not available on Tuesday for our application meeting. Well, then and only then I can take that resume and put it aside. But you know what I'm going to plan on? And Dr. Knitsch, you'll appreciate this. I'm not going to plan on interviewing them one-on-one. They're not going to do that. I can tell you that because there's too many reasons why they're going to have to come to an application meeting. They're going to have to. Even though on the phone, I didn't call it an application meeting, did it? Did I? I called it an interview. They have to come because there's certain filtering aspects of that application meeting that are critically important to finding an A player. So they're still going to have to come to an application meeting, which means that if they say, no, I'm not available next Tuesday for that interview appointment, I'm thinking, darn, well, I really like this person. I'd like to interview him. That means we're going to have to schedule a second application meeting. So be it. It's okay. It's worth it in the long run. As I said at the seminar on Saturday, excuse me, a mishire will cost you 10 times their salary. So is it worth it to go through this process? Absolutely. It's going to save you a lot of money in the long run and save you a lot of headaches. Okay, so let me keep going because once that's done, we have, again, our yes pile and our no pile, right? So we're going to jump in here. If it's the yes pile, we're going to send this email, which says, we're looking forward to seeing you on this day at this time. Please arrive 10 minutes early and we'll start right on time. So that's going to happen in the yes pile. If it's the no pile, then we want to thank you for applying for the position. Here's a coupon. If you ever need us, let us know. We'll be in touch. And that's the no pile. Okay. And then we're done. And that's it. So, okay. So I think, let me just make sure. Yes. Okay. So that's the end of that slide section. Perfect. All right. I want to just reiterate too, because I shared this book with you in the seminar, but this is a great book. I highly recommend it. It's called OKR. It's the Master the Performance Framework that Google perfected. Once you do find your CA, this is a great book to show you how to best manage them. Maybe that's not the right word. Be an effective leader, probably a better word. 2 words actually, but this is a great book. So I just wanted to reiterate this. We're going to actually get into this in some pieces throughout this module that I'll show you, but there's some great information here. And for those of you that came to the live seminar, you received this as my gift when you got here. So that was for you. And with that, let's get into some questions. Oh, I'm sorry. No, one other, I didn't mean to gloss over. I saved the best for last. I want to congratulate our DC and CA of the Year winners. Now I see our DC of the Year winner is on the phone today or on the call with us. Our CA winner is not. So I want to first of all, start off by saying congratulations so much. And from me, sincerely, I appreciate what both of you have accomplished. It's through your hard work that more people receive chiropractic care, and the more people that receive chiropractic care, those people lead healthier lives, happier lives. They maintain a higher quality of life. They're able to achieve more, have better relationships, have better success, all of the above through what you've done to help them receive chiropractic care and become healthier. So that first and foremost is the main part of this award that goes out to you. In addition to that, you have some specific success rates, right? So in the area of the report of findings conversion rates, which is one of the criteria for the CA of the Year, Emily Cruz, you are the winner. And we, of course, have your award for you. We will give that to you when we meet next. I'm actually going to be coming to see you in your office to give that to you. But I want to say congratulations, very well deserved. You kicked butt. You're on it with your patient care. I know that Dr. Diaz is super proud of you, as am I. So our CA of the Year for 2023 award went to Emily Cruz at the seminar. And then next up, we have our DC of the Year, who this year actually is a repeat winner, right? Success always leaves clues. So the winner of our DC of the Year award this year goes to Dr. John Kinich. So Dr. John, you're on the call today, and I want to open up your line in just a minute. But again, so Dr. Kinich is somebody who I love how he implements. He comes to the seminars always. He always comes to the seminars. He always gets on the webinars. He implements. But not only that, he's very balanced, right? Last time I called him, I think he was in Hawaii, or maybe he was in Europe, but he works hard and he plays harder. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful family, hard worker, super on purpose chiropractor. And so that award couldn't be more well deserved. And it, of course, for 2023, the award goes to Dr. John Kinich. And I'm hoping that he'll say a few words for us. So, Dr. Kinich, are you there?
Yes, Scott, can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. Welcome.
Thank you, by the way. I really appreciate it. I enjoy your mentorship a lot, and so does my staff. You've been so consistent over the years. And as I said before, your webinars are like a meditation for me. The one you did today is so invaluable if you're a doctor going to hire. The things you can get out of this one conference call, and the topic in general is so invaluable. I even hear myself when you're doing the conference call, like, oh, I could have improved that. I will do that next time, because there are a lot of steps. If you skip any, it's a mistake. But I appreciate the award. Obviously, I appreciate you even more. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes. Well, good job. And well deserved. And this is you won before too, right? Isn't this the second time?
That's true. I think 9 years ago, Scott.
So, well, again, congratulations and very well deserved. And I certainly really enjoy our relationship. You're always a pleasure when we get together and talk chiropractic. And so keep up the good work, and I'll stay in
Hey,
touch.
thanks a lot.
Of
Appreciate
course.
it.
It's doctors like Dr. Kinich and CAs like Emily Cruz that would make BJ proud, and Dee Dee too. But that's what I live my life by. If somebody says, you've been in practice for 27 years, what drives you after all these years? I want to make BJ proud. I want to bring chiropractic to as many people as possible. And both of the individuals that won those awards this year clearly exemplify that purpose. I really feel that. I couldn't have been more excited when we found out who won. And I was just like, wow. So there's my surfer jargon coming out. I was just like, wow. But really, I was genuinely stoked and excited to bring those awards this year. So with that, though, for everybody on the call, just know you could be the winner for 2024. I mean, there's certain criteria. They're listed on the website. I'll actually show you where that is before we wrap up. But on the website, we have a spot, and I hope it's not going to have me log back in right now. I don't think it is. Yeah, it is. Sorry. It'll just take a moment. So let me log back in, and let's go to the site, because on the site, it lets you know the ways that you can actually be qualifying for the DC and C of the Year award. And we don't have them listed up here yet. We will get those, but it takes some time. And I came back to a very busy practice right after the seminar, so I've been working, but here are the ways that you can do that. So it lists those down here to be eligible for Chiropractic Assistant of the Year, and then down here to be eligible for the Chiropractor of the Year down there. Now, both of those talk about attending seminars, and both of those list more seminars than we actually had live seminars last year. So that's okay. It's okay. Just go for it. Go for the win, and make sure you're on the webinars and that you're submitting your results. Very important, so I can see how well you're performing in your practice. And that's one of the criteria. So put those numbers in. We'll measure your success rates, and you could be the winner in next year, which would be for 2024. So I look forward to being able to give those awards again down the road. Okay, so with that though, if there's any questions before we wrap up, because I know we're right up against the hour, now's the time. And I don't see any questions. All right, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. But for everybody on the call, just know that if at any time you have any questions I can answer, please email me, dctrainings@gmail.com, or you can submit a request through the website. On the website, actually, I want to just show you something quickly because this is something I'm not sure all of you know this for those of you that are new, but if you go to the website and you click on contact us, you can actually schedule a consulting or coaching call with me at any time. You just click on this link right here and it'll take you to a calendar page and you can schedule it right there. I do these on Thursdays. That's my day for DC trainings. Aside from that, I've got my own busy practice that I run, but you can always schedule a one-on-one coaching call with me. I'm happy to be there for you with questions that maybe you're not comfortable with, in an open format on the webinar. That's fine. We can do them one-on-one. The other part I want to show you is with the skill sets. So if we go to training and we go to skill sets, there are certain topics in the skill sets. Today we're talking about hiring. And as Dr. Glenn said, one of the things that's important with hiring is that you know that step by step. So if you click on team success, this will walk you through the top pick materials in DC trainings that relate to team development. So that's in the skill set section or team success. Then let's see, where was it? Actually, I guess you can't really schedule a call with me here. That's not what this is for. We have a new members section, but that doesn't really apply. So anyways, if you want to schedule a one-on-one time, that's there for you. You can always schedule that through the website right here. Okay, so let's see. I don't see any hands up, but Dr. Tetrault, I just want to say hello, welcome, and can I open up your line? I don't know if you're available right now, but it'd be great to say hello, Dr. Mike.
Hi.
There we go. Welcome.
Hi.
You're in a whole different time zone, so thank you for joining our webinar today. Is there any questions I can answer?
I'm like a sponge. No specific questions right now. I look forward to following through with the details that you have available on the website. You're very well organized. I appreciate that greatly.
Absolutely. I'm here for you. Happy to help. And sometime I would like to get some feedback on how that meeting went, because I know that was a big one, and I'm looking forward to hearing how that went. So we can connect more on that later. But if you don't have any questions right now, thanks so much for being part of DC Trainings, and I'm here for you.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation to have a brief discussion on that important meeting. And I'll look at something in the next week or so. Appreciate that.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, we'll talk soon. Salamat. Salamat? Salamat. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap up. I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I don't see any other hands up. So last call. Other than that, let's launch into team development. Let's create a very dynamic A-player team that starts to produce for you in a way that your practice can run on autopilot. That's what I want. I mean, let me just give you one parting example. I know we're going to go a little bit over, but it'll be worth it. BJ Palmer, if you ever want to read a really great book that he wrote, it's called Round the World with BJ. Round the World with BJ. He left his Palmer clinic for 1 year, just walked out and left. Now, what I would ask you, what would happen to you if you walked out of your clinic right now for 1 year? You just left and came back in a year. Would your practice be bigger or would it be smaller? What would happen to it? Would it close? Would it be open? Like big questions, right? When he came back to the Palmer Clinic, it had grown. It grew. Why? Because everybody was signed on to his vision. Everybody there said, this is a vision that's important. It's so important. We're going to keep this vision going. Even though the person who originally told us about it isn't here, we value it enough to keep it going. And that's not enough, though. He had that objective clearly stated for everybody that worked in the Palmer Clinic. What was also important, and what's going to be important for you beyond the objective, is the key results. Those are the action steps. The action steps were in place so that everybody knew what they needed to do to keep that clinic going and make it grow. Not only grow, but it actually expanded not just the clinic, but it expanded the college, right? Palmer College grew out of that time frame. So that's the vision that you want. You want to have this organization that allows your practice to run, whether you're there or not. Why? Because what's most important about your practice is not you. It's not me. It's our patients. It's the people that we serve. That's what's most important. They're the lifeblood. They're the living energy that drives that practice forward. And the more we can focus our efforts around serving them and organizing it in a way that it just doesn't stop, that it keeps going and they keep being taken care of, that service is still received no matter what, then our patients don't have to go a day well, they shouldn't have to go a day with subluxations. Otherwise, I mean, they don't come in every day and get adjusted, but a day doesn't go by where there are our patients, the most important people in this whole equation, cannot enjoy life from a subluxation-free standpoint. That's what we want to do. That's where we want to go. And that's what team development's about. So thank you for joining today. I will talk to you next week. And as always, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm here for you. Have fun. I'll talk to you soon.
If you would like to become a member of DC Trainings, be sure to head on over to dctrainings.com to get started today.